This could unlock the Chicago Bulls. We're going to be talking about 6 key takeaways from last night's preseason game, which could help the Chicago Bulls as they continue to try to build this roster out and hopefully become a contender once again in the NBA. This is your host, Rico Greenhowe, and you have found yourself on another episode of Bulls Digest. And so going back to last night's win against the Cavaliers, it wasn't pretty, but the Chicago Bulls figured it out, winning 116 to 112. We're going to be looking at 6 key points that I think that the team can take away from this as they continue to really build out this franchise. And so here we go. So starting with point number 1, it is Matas Buzelis. I have been extremely high on Matas Buzelis going through his summer league, looking at what he has shown in each game out. He's gotten better and better. And I know that there was probably a lot of skepticism wondering, okay, well, now that he's out of the summer league, could he now do it against players who are going to be regularly playing in the NBA, going against starters and things like that? And this is coming off of what we had heard from Billy Donovan, who had said that, hey, he was struggling a little bit in practice with the physicality and things like that and settling for unbalanced shots. But one of the things that Billy Donovan has talked about, and also other people across other networks who have covered the Chicago Bulls, and not even just covered the Bulls, but also covered the NBA, have talked about his motor and talked about his will to want to be good. And they feel like, look, this is enough. They think that his skills are going to catch up with that will, and you got a chance to see it last night. Right now, you're looking at an image of where he was playing outstanding defense on Donovan Mitchell. He actually blocked the shot of Darius Garland, who is one of the more shiftier players in the NBA. And to close out the game, defensively, him sitting down on defense, not going for the pump fake, using his length was enough to go ahead and help close out the game yesterday. I talked about it going into yesterday's preseason game, saying that Matas Buzelis, if he's going to really make an impact with the Chicago Bulls and make it to where you must have to play him, it was going to be on the defensive end. I don't know if he was listening to me or not, but that's exactly what he did. And I felt like he was going to get to the free throw line. That's what he did as well, 4-4. And he found himself in a double figure game, and he really just went ahead and stacked the stat sheet. And then also, too, he made plays as a point forward. He threw a lob to Julian Phillips. He got a lot of defensive rebounds out there. He was in the passing lane. Like, he was all over the place. And you can only imagine what is going to happen once he now learns the NBA game and understands timing and understanding when to get his jump shot off, because I think it's going to get better. It looks good from a mechanic standpoint. It's just about the repetitions. And so, look, I think that Matas Buzelis is going to put a lot of pressure on this franchise now to go ahead and play him. And I am going to say it along with people like Stacey King, who have already said it, that he should at least get 20 minutes a game out the box. I think that once the season starts, if he continues to play like this throughout the preseason, you must consider playing him at least 20 minutes a game, maybe even more as the season goes along, because you're not trying to win a title right now. You are trying to see exactly what you have. And I think that Matas Buzelis is a player that I don't know if he's going to become a franchise player, but I certainly believe he is going to be a major building block piece for the Chicago Bulls. And he puts a lot of pressure on management and the coaching staff right now to play him over perhaps some starters that we have in the lineup. And so next we move into our next point, and that is Josh Giddy. So welcome back, Josh Giddy. I'm glad to see that he is back from the torn ligament that he had there in his ankle that he suffered over the summer. And so it was good to see him out there. But one of the things that I had talked about is that the Chicago Bulls are really investing in Josh Giddy, getting to the best version of himself as a player. And so what did that mean? That meant that he was going to have to be able to stretch the floor. What did he do? He went out, he went 0 of 3 from downtown, and one of those shots was an air ball. And so one of the things that people had been saying is that, yeah, he can shoot. He can shoot, But when it comes down to now packing it in and making him be a three-point shooter versus driving in, which is exactly how I would defend him, he has got to get better to really unlock the totality of the game. Because if not, we're going to be looking at a situation of like a Ben Simmons in comparison there. Because Ben Simmons, at an all-star level, terrific at getting to the basket, terrific at getting rebounds, and he understood, how to pass the ball and everything else. But once defenses pretty much packed it in, if his shot was not going down, then that made it very tough for him. And so we don't want that from Josh Giddy. He showed that he can definitely be a playmaker. He showed that he can go out and rebound. He's shown that he can get double figures by slashing, but you have to be able to extend now your game. And that's how he becomes pretty much unguardable on the offensive end. And then defensively, you saw that there were some breakdowns where he let his man just pretty much get by him. And he talked about that he has to get better as a defender. I think he can. And I think that as we get better as a defensive team, then that's going to hide a lot of those flaws. That is where a player like Matas Buzelis and dosummu are going to be critical, but we'll talk about that in a moment. But anyway, that is one of the key takeaways, is that Josh Giddy has got to get better as a jump shooter. He does not need to be in a position where he's just a standstill three-pointer, but you got to be able to knock that down. So with that being said, we move into our next point, and that is going to be Ayo and then also to Coby White. I've said this before with both of these players. I think that they are franchise pieces for sure. I think that Coby White, in my opinion, is ready to take that step and be a franchise player for the Chicago Bulls. He has said it several times, and even over the summer, he has said that he wants to be the leader of this team. And I've said it too. He is willing to run up the chimney because he wants all the smoke of being the leader. I think that he absolutely can be a franchise player. And I've said this about Ayo. I said, even if he comes off the bench, if that's what the Bulls are going to do with him, I think that he's good enough that he would be in the sixth man of the year running if he is coming off the bench. You saw just how impactful that Ayo was coming off the bench. You see just how impactful Coby White is playing alongside another playmaker, in which you changed his role yet again. What does he do? He goes out there, he adjusts. And when the offense broke down, where did they go? To Coby White. He got and ones. He settled the offense. Look, he is ready to take off. And I think that between Ayo, between Matas, they are really going to put pressure on Billy Donovan, because if these are two of your best defenders and the game changes when they're in the game, you really have to consider the folks that are in front of them, that these players might have to start, especially if you're not going to be going anywhere as far as a championship aspirations, or you're getting deep into the playoffs and you're trying to figure out what this team can do. You have to consider that. And I think it is going to also put pressure on AK in the front office now to go, look, these younger players are ready to take an expanded role. We are going to have to maybe move some of these vets out of the way and get some draft assets to go with these players in order to continue to build this. So it might make the Bulls really go ahead and pivot and pick a direction. So as we move to the next point, we are looking at THT. I think that THT showed you that I think he should have a roster spot. I loved how he played bully ball. I'm just going to say that. He was an absolute bully on the offensive end, and I love the fact that he just played with that grown man game down there. I mean, it was just like you knew what was coming, but he was just pushing people out of the way. I mean, he was literally a wrecking ball on the offensive end, but I loved it because he plays with the physicality. And shout out to CHGO podcast. They were talking about it in their post game. They said it reminded them a little bit of Andre Drummond. They got that vibe from him, and I'm right alongside with him. I love the physicality that he brings, and I think that he is a player that I'm absolutely intrigued with. He is an NBA champion. I love his veteran leadership that he can bring to this team. And look, I think that you absolutely should probably make a roster spot for him, especially if he can find ways to be effective and he's not even knocking down the three ball, and you know what you're going to get from a defensive standpoint with that wingspan. So I loved everything that THT brought to the unit. And these are players that you have to really consider taking a look at as you continue to try to build out this youth movement for the Bulls. So a great example of what you saw with THT. Billy Donovan has got to play these players that have shown some flashes in the NBA. All right, so next up, Dalen Terry and Julian Phillips. I know I don't have a picture up of Julian Phillips, but these two players, very impressed. I've gotten a lot of comments with people saying, I don't think Dalen Terry is going to be good. And, I'm not sure about Julian Phillips. Look, they have put in the work. I talked about that Julian Phillips looked really good to me coming off the foot injury in the summer league. I did not need to see him just take over the team or anything like that. He showed me enough with that athleticism. You saw both of them on display with that wingspan, playing the passing lanes, getting out and running. Look at the beautiful lob that Julian Phillips caught from Matas Buzelis. You love that. I love Dalen Terry turning defense into offense, going out there, doing what he's asked to do. Like, he is a player, both of those players deserve to be into the rotation. That was one of the questions we had. And I think that as they continue to grow here, you give them an opportunity. I think that Billy Donovan, once again, is going to be forced to play these players. So I love it that these young players are putting pressure on Billy Donovan now to play them and trust them. All right, because they're looking good. They put in the work. They believe in themselves. And I like it. So, between both of those players, I think that they did extremely well. These are players that are going to unlock us here because these are players that we are going to utilize off the bench. We're going to need them. Next up, as we continue on, Jalen Smith. All right, so I got to give Jalen Smith his credit coming in, getting the double-double. And I think you got a chance to see that, he can definitely play in this league. I think we're still trying to figure out, can he be a starter in this league? I think he can. Some of this three-point shooting that he showed with the Indiana Pacers, you wonder about that. I mean, because the Pacers played at such a high rate and a high clip shooting those threes. I know that he's probably going to be in a situation where he's going to get those attempts. He can knock them down consistently, excuse me. That's one of the things that a lot of articles, people in the media are wondering. I think he can if he continues to have the reps. I think that one of the things he talked about is having the confidence to do so. So he's going to get that opportunity. I just don't want him to basically fall in love with shooting the three ball. I want him to continue to do exactly what he did, which was get down there, get the boards, finish in contact, get lobs and things like that. If the three-point shot is available, great, go for it. But I think that just him being that type of player, that physicality is what we want in order to go ahead and say, all right, if we do move on from Vooch, we feel comfortable now with Jalen Smith and then going out there and getting some more front court players to play along with him. So we need that at the center position. So with that being said, let me know in the comments what you think about these 6 points. I think that these are huge for the Chicago Bulls. And mainly, I think what you're going to get out of this is that these young players have shown in game one that they should be getting some minutes. And that kind of goes against what Billy Donovan had said in media day, where we're not going to just throw these players out there. They look like they're showing that they want to. They look like they're showing that they deserve it. I know that we still have 4 games to go. I know that we're not in the NBA season just yet. But I must say, if these players continue to show like this, you have got to consider going ahead and pivoting to this youth movement full on for the Bulls. And so let me know in the comments what you are thinking, which players really stuck out to you the most in this preseason game. We'll be talking a little bit more as we get ready to take on the Memphis Grizzlies on Saturday. Some exciting stuff to come. Just want to thank everybody out there for liking, sharing, and subscribing. It means a lot to me here at Bulls Digest. And just want to let you know that 64.2% of you that watch the videos are not subscribed. So just like Matas Buzelis, make sure that you slam dunk on that subscribe button for me. And look, even though we are getting hyped about preseason basketball and our young guys haven't done it in the NBA season just yet, I don't care. I'm still saying go Bulls, and I will see you in the next one. Peace.